realize you're just doing what you used to do. And, honestly, I honestly think that doing radio shows is harder than doing that. If you can just get over the fact of how many people are watching you. Mm-hmm. And, now it's completely commonplace. I don't find anything unusual about it at all. And, everybody, when I do a show with like a John Anderson or a Stuart Scott or something like that, yeah, that's a little strange because these are people I watched for a long time and grew up and were influenced by. But, now it just seems kind of normal. And, what's really strange is when you have a private conversation with them, not so much doing a show with them. All of a sudden they're acknowledging you that you actually kind of are in the club. So that's what's really deep.
Okay, what is Bram Weinstein's routine heading into a show? Take me through a typical day with you as you prepare for the show.
Oh, God. See, now you're going to think I'm weird. There's a lot of idiosyncrasies. But we meet about 5 to 6 hours before a show. We talk about everything we're going to cover, and, there's always, like yesterday, Darren Williams scored 57 points in a game. We weren't going to show the Nets-Bobcats game, but, that happened. So things change when things like that happen. But, we go in with what we believe our best plan is. We have a lot of people working on this thing, and we decide in what order everything's going to be, and then things change as warranted, like when Darren Williams gets 57 or Tiger Woods shoots a 62, things get altered. So, we deal with that. We go through the day, and then everyone, there's 2 anchors, so everyone gets assigned to whatever their games are to cover, what things they need to write, and we kind of just follow that path until it's time to get on the air. And then my routine gets a little strange. I got a lot of little things I need to kind of work out. I think everybody has their own way of getting themselves ready to go on television or coach a game or whatever, and mine are probably no different, but I have a routine. Let's put it that way.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received from someone regarding reporting?
I would say just do as many different things as possible and do it often. If you sit there and you think like, I want to be a reporter, and they're just going to start sending me to Giants and Jets games, then you are a delusional person. Like, the people who end up going to those things are rarely people who don't have any experience doing it, and all the reporters want to do that. So my best advice would be is get used to going to lower tier things, high school games, minor league games. If you can get into professional games, great, and follow beats and learn how to interview people. I mean, the best thing to do is learn how to make contacts and interview, and you really can't do that unless you just do it. So
right.
That'd be my best advice. Just do it a lot and do it often.
Now, let's talk a little Redskins real quick, because you, of course, covered the Redskins for 8 years. Next couple of months, there's obviously going to be a dramatic movement with the whole quarterback positioning in the entire NFL. I mean, there's a bunch of guys out there who are going to be going to different places. Let's start with Peyton Manning. 2 questions. Assuming he's healthy, which is a big assumption, I know, do you think Peyton will be a Redskin next year, and do you think he'd be a good fit with them?
I don't think he will be now. About a month ago, I was fairly certain he would be. I assume he's going to play. Otherwise, he would have, made some form of announcement by now.
Yep.
And, he's doing all this clandestine workout stuff to, try to prove to people that he's at least healthy enough to warrant a contract. So, he's playing the game to play.
Where do you think he'll end up?
I wouldn't give him a contract. I mean, unless it was completely incentive-laden. That's just me, though. But I understand when you're a team like the Redskins or the Browns or the Dolphins who haven't had a productive quarterback in a very long time, that the prospect of having him at all is very enticing, especially for a team like the Redskins. They haven't had a franchise quarterback since Joe Theismann. I mean, it's a long, long time. Now, granted, this guy wouldn't, be here for very long, no matter how long it would be. But you're in a division with Michael Vick, Tony Romo, and Eli Manning. I mean, good luck.
Tough,
You better go find somebody that can play. And he can play. So I understand their desire to get him. I just, this is a typical, if this guy is even healthy enough to make it through a season, we don't know. There's no way his career is longer than a couple of good, productive years, if at all. So to me, it's a major short-term fix, and it's really not the right move, but I can understand why they're interested in him. So I thought about a month ago that it was going to happen. Now that Robert Griffin III seems to have struck their fancy, I think that he's the one they're going to try to get.
What do you think the chances are of the Redskins getting RG3 in the trade?
Very good.
Yeah.
I think it's between them and the Browns unless somebody comes out of nowhere with a huge deal. The Redskins or the Browns offer the Rams exactly what they want, which is such a minor drop in the draft. I mean, they're not taking Robert Griffin anyway, so it's like the best of both worlds. They're going to get an extra first-round pick and move down 2 spots. I mean, this is a no-brainer for them. They're going to end up with one of the picks this year, I don't think the Redskins are going to get them. And if they're not willing to do that, then I think the Redskins are. They're typically not in the business of being outbid, so I assume that they're going to be there in the end.
I'm interested in hearing your reaction to the whole bounty scandal, which has kind of rocked the sports world this week. You, of course, covered Greg Williams for 4 years when he was with Washington as the defense coordinator. What do you remember about Greg Williams and his relationship with his players?
I actually wrote about that today, and that is on my blog, too. That's metalkathlete.blogspot.com, which I know is going to be impossible to remember, but since it's a podcast, you can pause to write it down. Anyway, Greg, to sum up, I'm not surprised. I didn't know about it then, but I'm not surprised. I will say this for Greg, and I would guess that, and most of the players I think would agree with this. I don't know, that the vast majority of this was based on performance plays, like you make a fumble, get a sack on a big third down, interception, good block on an interception return, game-changing plays. Mm-hmm. That everyone would look at and go, oh, that's worth a reward if you could be rewarded for it. Like no one would complain about it. They might say, oh, it's a cap violation, whatever, but it wouldn't be something that people are outraged about. Right. They would just say, like, oh, some guy got awarded for a sack. That sounds about right. But, obviously he crossed the line. And what bothers me about this entire thing is it's hypocritical. Here are the players during the lockout complaining about player safety, making that the paramount issue for them in negotiations. And they got a lot of things in return from the NFL to sign a deal. They got fewer practices, fewer padded practices, independent doctors on the sideline. If you get a concussion, you can't go back to a game anymore. I mean, that wasn't the case. Even when I was covering the team, they used to say, oh, the guy's dinged, and they would just stick him back out there. Well, we know better now. The insurance coverage is better, and all these give-backs that occurred that I think was right, and I think the public believed was right, and we're on the moral side of the players over. Meantime, here's this team sitting in a locker room talking about giving each other money to critically injure people. It's beyond hypocritical. It is. And it's, and unfortunately, this is an attitude that, and this is what I really wrote about, this is an attitude that would have been praised 5 years ago. If this is 1968, 78, 88, 98, or 2008, Greg Williams is praised as a leader of men who understands how to harness violence in them, which is an important part of the game. But in 2012, it's not PC anymore. So his time has come and gone, unfortunately, and for him. Whether you think legislating all the violence out of the game is the right way to go, well then, that's for you to decide. I like when guys get hit hard. I don't want to see anybody get carted off the field, and I certainly don't want to hear about anyone getting paid to do it. But that said, there's a reason why James Harrison makes a lot of money. There's a reason why Ray Lewis makes a lot of money, because they instill fear in their opponents. And I still believe that that's supposed to be part of the NFL game, right, even if we're sliding to a side that suggests otherwise.
Right. Bram, this has been great. I really want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to come on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Everybody make sure to check out Bram's blog. It's metalkathlete.blogspot.com. Bram, thank you again, and all the best.
All right, take care.